I'm head of programming and outreach for the Georgetown County Library System. Welcome to Digibridge 2.0, a series of 12 humanities lectures by local experts on various elements of Georgetown County's deep, diverse history and culture. These presentations are all free and open to the public. And during March, we began our series at our brand new Southern Georgetown Library out on Powell Road in Georgetown. And now in April, we're hosting 4 more exciting presentations here at our Carvers Bay Library in Hemingway. And we thank Marilyn Lance Robb, our branch librarian here, our manager, for hosting us. And she's been very gracious host and has provided food and snacks to welcome folks here for these events. And in May, we'll close out Digibridge at our Andrews Library on Morgan Avenue, North Morgan in Andrews. All 12 presentations will also be made available for viewing afterwards on the Georgetown County Library YouTube page. The Digibridge 2.0 series is supported with a growth grant from South Carolina Humanities with funding provided by the National Endowment for the Humanities. South Carolina Humanities is a not-for-profit organization inspiring, engaging, and enriching South Carolinians with programs on literature, history, culture, and heritage. And so we're here today, and we're thrilled. We had a slight schedule change, but we're thrilled to be able to make it and adjust, and we're so grateful and thankful that our guest today could adjust and adapt. She is nothing if not amenable and very gracious, but Alma Sierra, victim advocate with the county, with Georgetown County Sheriff's Office. She's here today to talk with us about her work and how that has led to greater cultural awareness through victim advocacy and her job as a bilingual victim advocate in Georgetown County. So welcome, Alma. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate everyone making the adjustment necessary for me to be able to be here, so thank you.
Oh yeah, we very much appreciate it, and it's great to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Alma joined the Georgetown County Sheriff's Office in 2010 as the first Latina bilingual victim advocate. She is a South Carolina qualified interpreter and translator for non-English speakers within the Hispanic community who assists for Georgetown County residents by interpreting with Sheriff's Office interviews as well as at local hospitals, doctors' offices, and local resource organizations. Her work was recognized in 2014 with the statewide Outstanding Service to Underserved Victims Award. Sierra is here today to talk about how her work as an interpreter helps to create a more diverse and inclusive Georgetown County. So again, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
For Digibridge 2.0. To get started, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Okay, well, I was born in Puerto Rico, in Bayamon, Puerto Rico, and I moved here with my family when I was 3 years old. My mom and my father and my 2 brothers that I have, they moved to Miami for about 6 months, and then we moved to Central Florida, and I was there for about 31 years, and that is where I met my husband, and I have 3 beautiful children. They're not young, they're older. They're 23, 24, and 25 years old. And then the Lord just moved us here to Georgetown, not really knowing what purpose we were going to serve here in this community. Georgetown is a lot like Sanford in Florida, where I was raised, and it was just nice to come to a small town feel again, because we tend things the way things move so quickly, Sanford became such a large city, so it was nice to come back and just come to a place where it feels like a hometown feel. Everybody knows everybody. So, and I felt very presidential when I came here because everybody waves, and in Florida, you know, everything is so busy, it's a big melting pot, and the southern charm here and the hospitality is very true to what we hear and what we see on TV. It is, I mean, everybody is waving, so it's just very kind. And we came here because my in-laws, who were pastors here in Georgetown, they opened up the first Spanish church in Assemblies of God. And so we would come and we would visit, and we just fell in love with the town, and the Lord just prepared the path to where we came here, and He's just opened so many doors, and I'm just so grateful and thankful for everything that He took from us to be able to place us where we are today. And He's just given us so much. We are pastors of a local church here. My husband and I have a Spanish church. My in-laws had moved over onto another church that needed assistance, so they placed us as the pastors here. So we're here in Georgetown at the First Assemblies of God Emmanuel Church, and we opened up a tire business. It is Georgetown Tire and Auto Center in Georgetown, and it's just prospered so well. I'm just so thankful for what God has given us and put in our hands. And so we do wear many hats, and since we have nothing else to do, right, and because we don't have much to do, we also now just opened a Bodega, a Latin fresh market in Georgetown as well.
Really?
So that we can expose our cultural differences that we have, and just introduce our foods, and, you know, Central American, Caribbean foods. We're hoping to expand into the Jamaican food as well. We do have a lot in common with, you know, all of that culture as well. So we're just excited about where God has taken us here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a fantastic personal history that's also it's a family history and a cultural history. Yes. And it's you know, it's something that seems kind of unique around Georgetown County. You know, it stands out. And I was struck by what you said about you know, that everyone was waving to you around here. It's a kind place, a friendly place. And you think of it as it's connected with Southern hospitality.
Oh, absolutely.
And did you find Florida? Would you consider Florida Southern? Or
I always say this, and I'm glad that you said that. I always tell people Florida is the southernmost geographically placed state in the United States, but there's nothing more southern than South Carolina for me.
Okay.
Just that southern charm. Like I said, Florida is a big melting pot. A lot of people that come from up north, a lot of New Yorkers come down, and we have people from Cuba that come in. We have people from Santo Domingo that come in, and we just have people from all over. So it's a big melting pot. It's not really a separation of. It's not a predominant culture in Florida. It's a whole bunch of different cultures. Mm-hmm. So when we came here to South Carolina, specifically to Georgetown, I didn't see that much of a diversity. Right. It was more focused. So, but little by little, we have been stepping out into the community, and we have noticed that there's a large community out here to be found. Mm. So we're just so excited.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're adding to that community, so it's you're interweaving and adding some adding to the diversity, and maybe expanding that idea of Southern around here. Yes. You know, integrating, keeping what's good about that tradition, and also expanding it.
Oh, absolutely, and we've learned so much since we've been here about the Southern living. And that's the name of a magazine. And for us, it was just that. It was just the name of a magazine, Southern Living. But being able to be here and immersing ourselves in the community, we've just been embraced by the community here in Georgetown. Everybody automatically made us feel so welcome. And it was not hard for us or my children to adapt. Yeah. So I love Georgetown, and I'm excited that we're getting at that stage in our life that we can give back to the community. Even though that's not where my roots we're not set here, but my children's roots are set here, and I just want to implant the most I can here.
Nice. Yeah, so putting down roots, and you know, you're extremely busy. I knew about your one job, but you got you know, you're involved in 3 other jobs.
Yes.
And you know, everybody needs tires. We love our cars down south
Yes.
in this county. But also religion, and that's a big, you know, that's often associated with Southern culture and Southern living.
Yes.
And so you're very much involved with that on a community side. But also foodways, and you know, we love our food, and we you know, the past couple of Digibridge celebrations or presentations, we've been talking about celebrating Gullah foodways, and yeah, how that connects with you know, has West African traditions, and it kind of blends together Southern or South Carolina traditions as well. But this, you're bringing in something. You're adding something to that mix, creating, I guess, your own ingredients in this in a new melting pot around here by this with a bodega. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Okay, so if you're from up north, I'm not from up north. I've never lived up north, but just if I know that the person that I'm speaking with is from up north, if they know exactly what a bodega is. Up north, there's a bodega in every corner. And so we got a very positive reaction when we started spreading the word that we were going to open up a bodega. And a bodega is it's just a corner store where you can get, it's like a convenience store, but you can also get fresh produce. Now, being Puerto Rican, everybody might think that because, you know, you speak Spanish and you look Spanish, around here I've noticed that everybody assumes that you're Mexican. But Mexican is just one of the many Hispanic cultures that we have. We have differences in our foods and our music that we like, in a lot of things that we you know, we partake in. So we did notice that there were a lot of stores that catered to the Mexican community, but we don't eat spicy. My husband likes spicy. I do not like spicy. I think it just burns your taste buds, and then you can't really enjoy the food. But my husband says, no, you just don't know about speaking. So I was like, okay. So we like seasoned food. And being Puerto Rican, we are a very big mix of culture. We are actually African American, Spanish from Spain, and also the Taino Indians. So we are a very big mix of cultures, and our food and our dance and our music has a lot of African American influence in there, and actually a lot of Spanish influence as well. So we like to eat a lot of roots, and people are like, what is this? And it's like a yucca, for example. A lot of people don't even know what a yucca is, but it's yuca for us in Spanish. And so we have to, we have a whole back wall in our store that has a variety of different roots that we eat, like potatoes and yuca, and there's malanga, and so, you know, and we wanted to bring that to the community because although I love fried chicken and I love sweet potatoes, and I love the mash, the sweet potato mash here. What is that? That is so good. No, not the pie. It's the mash, and it has like a crumbly of I think it's cinnamon and sugar and oh my gosh, yes. Maybe after here we can all have some because that is really good. Yes, that is so good, and that is something that I've never tasted before. So, you know, just like I've been introduced, I like to introduce what we have too. And a lot of people are very curious about our food, so we've got a great reaction from the community.
We had Guadalupe Garcia was an earlier presenter who runs Habanero's Mexican restaurants around here. And he brought some food, which was great. But
he outdid me.
He had. Well, we didn't know. We're going to talk about one of your other jobs in a minute, but we didn't know about this endeavor of your many endeavors. But he, you know, he had slides, and one of them was just peppers.
And he had slides?
He had beautiful slides.
He had slides and food? I'm a disappointment. Sorry.
But yeah, the spiciness is definitely, and
Yes.
and the food was, there was one sauce that was extremely spicy. Truman he can verify that, so, yeah, but the spiciness, but this is, Puerto Rican cooking, very different, distinct form of, and it speaks to cultural differences, that it's something unique and have different customs and,
Yes.
and ways of preparing it. And so is the bodega open already?
Yes, we
It
have
is.
actually been open, this is our 4th week.
Oh, wow, just open.
So it is a brand new baby.
Where
And
is it?
it is in Maryville,
Okay.
and it is on, the address is, can I plug the bodega? The address is 1719B South Island Road in Georgetown. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, we will,
Glad to look in the
I
fire.
think you might get some visitors out there.
Yes, come and visit us.
Yeah, for,
We're open from 10 to 8.
10 to 8.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good range, but yeah, to taste some of these other kinds of foods, and I know we have some foodies out there, because we've been talking about it, and it really is you are what you eat in
Yes.
more ways than one, and it really is part of our identities, so that's great to know, and I'm sure, lots of folks will be interested in that, and kind of, and then, who knows, 20 years from now, we could be, have you back on a Digibridge, that'll be Digibridge, 18.0 or whatever we're at that point, but we'll have you back, and, we'll talk about how, how all these, different foods have now become Georgetown County staples, they've been integrated into the culture.
I know that there's, I don't mean to interrupt, there's a restaurant opening up in Front Street, and there's a couple of others that are opening as well, and they have found out about us in just this 1 month. And thanks to Gab News and Facebook,
Wow.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I'm still learning Instagram, but my kids think I'm genius at Instagram, so I need to keep them believing that. So they have been coming around and just kind of learning to see what we have, because we do have a lot of fresh produce. And we're not here to compete with anyone, we're just here to share, what we eat and all of that. So they have been very curious, and they have come by, and they ask a lot of questions, and we're there to ask as many questions as the public needs, and that's the idea,
Awesome.
Bringing new things to the community.
Yeah, so it could be helping supply some of
Integrate,
those
absolutely.
front street restaurants too. That's great. That's awesome. All right. Well, that's a great thing to be doing. Lots of different avenues. Well, another avenue you have for integration and really helping with the diversity and inclusiveness around the county is you work with the Sheriff's Office.
Yes.
And so tell us a little bit about that, how you started and what you do there.
So with the Sheriff's Office, when we first moved here in 2008, I worked as an interpreter and translator for the school district. And from there, they were looking for someone bilingual, and my parents were past law enforcement, and they're retired law enforcement, both of my parents. And when I found out, I was like, well, I'm gonna try. There's no hurt in it. I was a preschool teacher for 7 years for the Head Start program, which is a wonderful program, and I love and I advocate so much for the Head Start program. I worked there for 7 years. My children attended Head Start, and so it was kind of scary for me to jump from teaching going into law enforcement, but I was familiar with the background of it because my parents were, so we grew up in it. And I applied, and for me, my job is more than a job, it's a ministry. And I feel like I can reach out to the victims of crimes when they are in the most in need. I don't consider myself to be a shy person, maybe at first, but then when I go in, I'm like, there's no button to shut me off. So I love to be a voice for those who don't have one, and I find that I can do that in any one victim. It doesn't matter if they're bilingual or, or what culture they're from, but I have found that I have tried my hardest to try and build a bridge to gap that communication gap that there is in the community. And it took a lot of trust building because I'm not from around here, and I'm not a familiar face, so I kind of had to step out in faith and just put myself out there and really help. And I've noticed a great difference, and I have created such a great, huge community family, and a lot of them end up coming to the church, or they come to the services. We help with family justice service as well, with the tires and getting their cars fixed so that they can continue to move forward. So I just advocate for small businesses in the community, because we are the ones that are gonna actually, no pun intended, but make the wheels turn. For everyone to kind of move forward. So we're just very excited. I'm excited to be a part of the sheriff's office. They open arms, received me in open arms. And so it's been great. It's been great. I've noticed an increase in open communication with the community since I have been there. And there is another bilingual advocate along with myself, who she is now working out of the detention center, Jasmine Noriega, and she's also a very key person out in the community, and I'm just so blessed to have her working with us.
Yeah, and we think about, language, we often take it for granted if we're native speakers, in a culture that we don't think about how difficult it would be for someone who's a non-native speaker trying to, just get by simple daily tasks, much less a crisis situation. So it's a really important cultural work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like, I'm very empathetic, and I feel like if we could just place ourselves in a foreign country where we don't know the language, because I don't know Chinese, I'm going to say China. If I am in China, and I have an emergency, I pick up that phone, I'm not going to know how to communicate that I am in an emergency, and then I have to wait to get placed on a language line, and then it's 2 conversations when you're having it translated, so it's taken 2 times as long to get your emergency across. And some people they find that there's just no, there's no use in calling, and just having someone out there that can speak the language, I'm sure that for that person it's like a warm blanket on a cold day.
And truly advocate for them. And,
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Not just going to be lost in the system.
Correct.
Give them a voice.
Yes.
And what did you mean that you consider it a ministry? Can you say a little bit more about that?
I believe that serving is a ministry, and it is. The Lord served, and that's where we want to be imitators of Him. And I feel like just being in the place where He has placed me, I feel like I can be that person's voice, and I can serve that person by being helpful and providing whatever need it is that they need to be, to have met. Sometimes just, having prayer, if that's what they wish, I give that to them, and I participate in that with them. If all they need is someone just to talk to, I want to be there and do that. And it is a team effort. It is a team effort. We have a great victims advocate team at the Georgetown County Sheriff's Office. We have a great advocacy team in the county of Georgetown. We just have a great relationship, and we just help each other. We help each other.
In your experience, what are the most difficult issues with interpreting between Spanish and English? What are kind of the sticking points that you've come across?
Like I said, even though we all speak Spanish, our cultures and our language is different. It's like if you go to England and you try and have a conversation, words are going to have different meanings.
Or even Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we have Caitlin Lavore, the victims advocate. She helps me with Andrews. She speaks straight up Andrews. So I just, she helps me in that aspect. That's our joke. She's like, you're bilingual, but so am I,
Yes.
And things do get lost in translation. And So just being able to be there for that person and get what they're trying to get across, communicated so that they can be treated equally, that's a key component. That's a very key part of what we do.
Yeah.
So a lot of things, although they do get lost in translation, we do the best that we can. Sometimes when I'm translating in court, I'm looking around and people are like, what is she looking at in the ceiling? And it's not that I'm going crazy. Our words in Puerto Rican Spanish, for lack of a better term, is different than if I speak with someone from Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Our words, even though some have a meaning in another culture, it could have in another dialect, it could have a total different. So what could be positive for me, it could mean something totally negative for the other person. So sometimes when I'm translating, I'll get a look like, and I'm like, wait, what do you understand that word to be? And then when they explain it to me, I was like, no. This is where our language is gonna conflict just a little bit, let me clarify. So again, it's all about communicating.
Yeah.
So even though we all speak Spanish, our dialects are so different, and that is a challenge.
Yeah. And it seems like your background as a teacher really it plays into this, because it is about your it's sort of continuing education. You're always adjusting, but you're kind of teaching on two sides, trying to translate, like in court, the victim, but also to the judge.
Oh,
or
yes.
You're kind of constantly performing that teacher's role.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And sometimes when you are speaking, like when I'm translating, sometimes it's so difficult because your brain has to switch back over.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're looking at, let's say I'm translating for you and this gentleman here speaks Spanish, and when I'm looking at you, I'm actually speaking Spanish to you, and I'm like, wait, no, I have to say it in English. Wrong language.
Yeah. And teaching, preschool, you're constantly, translating big ideas or words to a lower level, or helping kids understand, and it's
absolutely.
it's a constant effort to do that.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
keep paying attention to your language, being very careful and precise with the language. So it's
yes. And I do want to add something.
Yeah.
I appreciate you using your hands to speak, but it's not just me. Because listen, this is a struggle of mine, and I see that you're doing the same thing that I am, and it's like a constant dance. But if you see us talking from afar, you would think that we're angry. We're like this, and we're just saying it's such a beautiful day today, and look at the birds chirping, and but from far away it looks like we're having an argument. Like what are you saying? What are you doing? So I just appreciate the whole language with your hands.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sometimes I struggle getting words out, so it's like pulling out my words.
Too.
So
you're talking to me and I'm listening.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm listening, but I'm also watching your hands.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, it's not just me.
And I'm sure that's another part of it, is really looking at the nonverbal cues in language that folks are using, that you have to translate or respond to, or do your own language back. It's really lots of different levels of translation and interpretation going on.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Can you share with us a story or two, a particular one where you really felt that your interpreting skills were vital to, I'm sure there are lots of them, but helping resolve a situation? Are there a couple that stand out?
Situations that I have had to translate for that were kind of difficult because of the language. Is that what that?
Yeah. That it really was, a key turning point.
Okay. Well, I do have one. I'm not sure if it's relative. You tell me if I have to choose another one. But I have so many. It's hard to go through my mental bank. I did get called to the detention center one time to translate, and I went to the detention center to translate, and when I start speaking with the gentleman who needed translation, he wasn't speaking Spanish. It was assumed that he was speaking Spanish, but he was speaking Portuguese.
Mm.
And I can tell that it was Portuguese because I was exposed to the language, and Spanish, the Latin language for, the base language for Spanish is really Latin. And if you think about it, the court system uses Latin, the medical field uses Latin. So when you hear Spanish, French, and Italian, if you hear Latin or Portuguese or any other language, you can pick up one or two words. So I kind of was piecing things together and using context clues to kind of, put it all together. And we communicated some odd kind of way we communicated. I went on the scene one time and they called me, and I've learned to ask, do they speak Spanish and are you sure it's Spanish? Early in the morning I went on a call and I went there and I said, okay, so where's the victim? Well, the victim and the family were sitting down, so I go over to the victim and the family and I said, hola, buenos días, ¿cómo le puedo ayudar? Something very good morning, how can I help you? And they looked at me and said, we don't speak Spanish. And I'm like, but you speak clear English. Yeah, I don't know why they called you to come over here, And they were not even Spanish. They were from like a Polynesian island or something. They spoke there was no Latin there. I don't know what was being spoken. But then I just learned, please make sure that you are absolutely certain it's Spanish before you call me out there. So it does become tricky, and sometimes I just do the best that I can to try and help, and like body language, and that was one thing that COVID made very, very difficult for me or anyone who speaks Spanish that that does the type of work that I do. When you're not able to go out there and you have to take care of things over the phone, you don't see body language. You don't see the hands moving, because sometimes the hands waving around and making a description, you kind of can make out what the person is saying, but you don't see that on the other side of the phone. And it was very challenging and frustrating, but we did it. I think that we all have overcome such a great deal with COVID and just have learned to communicate in new ways using media. That's something so different. I translated for a court this morning for family court, and it was on Zoom, and it's just amazing how far we have been made to come because of COVID or since COVID.
Adjusting, even mask if you're in person, not being able to see the lips or mouth move.
We can wear lipstick again.
Because
we couldn't with the mask. It would get all over the mask, and it was just, it's not a thing. Chapstick was my best friend. Yes, but now we got the red back.
I didn't have to shave for several months.
I know, nice, right?
But we've adjusted, and there are other, which a common theme you're kind of hitting on here is how communication language is crucial, but it also there are many different forms of language.
Oh yes, absolutely. We have seen, and with this COVID and what we do and the lack of communication that it caused at the beginning, but forced us to broaden our creativity and new ways to communicate with each other. That was very well stated, right? And I did that with my hands. As I said it, it just flowed out like honey. So what was the question? I'm sorry, I forgot.
Just that we had many different forms of communication that it's not just the spoken language, spoken words, but you're talking about hands. I keep now paying very much attention to. But that even with body language or even over Zoom, that we found these other ways to communicate, and that you've got to sort of become in your work expert in these other areas too, and pretty quickly, and then but you absorb those and kind of adapt and move on.
Oh, absolutely. And with the COVID, it really did affect mental health a lot. It caused a lot of people to be retracted. It caused a lot of people to be not really antisocial, but the anxiety of socializing again really caused a great fear. We were still going out on calls, but the calls were very limited, and we had to be very careful on how we approached. There was a lot of challenges that we faced during COVID, and we were working from home for a time when when the world kind of shut down. We had to continue working, of course, because we're first responders, and our work is not a desk job from 8 to 5 with a 1-hour lunch. Our job is in the office, but it's also out in the field. It's in the courts. It's at the hospital, where it was very dangerous to go into the hospitals, but when you have a victim of a sexual assault and you have to report to the hospital, those were challenging, very challenging moments, and very, I'm not going to say fearful, but it created a certain level of fear for us to walk through those doors. But you have to set it aside and remember what you signed up for from the day one, and kind of just go in and do it. So we've made it all. We've all made it through. We've all done such a good job moving on from COVID, and COVID is not really in the past, but we're past it. We know that we can move alongside it. Just we have to respect each other. COVID has to respect us.
Yeah, and that's part of what you just said, part of the ministry side that you,
Yes.
like alongside nurses and teachers and.
Oh, yeah. Church is closed down.
Yeah, those necessary skills, necessary positions had to keep going.
Oh, yes. And
put themselves at risk.
And as pastors of the church, it was very challenging as well. A lot of people, we had to close down the church. We lost members because they were afraid, and we still have members that have not come back and are afraid to come back. And we still have the option of wearing a mask in the sanctuary if that's what makes you comfortable. The important is to come back. And it's just been, we were all affected in so many kinds of ways that communicating even within our own language was very difficult to do with one another. I'm thankful I didn't have loss of family during COVID. But I can only imagine the separation that family members had to have and felt and couldn't communicate because of all of the things that were going on. So for me, it's not just cultural, it's us, it's everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you like the public to know about your work as a victim advocate? A bilingual interpreter, victim advocate in Georgetown County. Is there anything that we don't know that we should know?
Besides having the ability to speak another language and having that asset, is that we advocates are actually available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When you call 911 and our officers go out there, you have the choice to speak with a victim's advocate. We are there to provide assistance for you. We are there to answer any questions that you may have. We are there to reach out into the community agencies that there are out there to make sure that certain things are available to you. We walk you through the court system. We have advocates at the law enforcement level, which is where I'm at. We also have advocates in the court, magistrate court, and in general sessions courts, that they walk you through that process. And we're out there to help and help you understand. And I know a lot of people probably don't even know we exist, but we're out there. We are out there. We're just kind of like in the background, providing assistance when you need it the most. Finding a safe place to stay, finding clothing. You need diapers for your baby. You need food. We're there for all of that.
Yeah, it's a vital role. And so now, are you on call? So you can be called at any hour of the day or night?
Yes, well, we're blessed that we have 3 advocates in the county. But for example, Andrews Police Department and Georgetown Police Department, they only have 1 advocate, each agency. We're blessed to have 3. We're on a rotating schedule.
Okay.
Being supervisor over the advocates, I'm kind of on call all of the time. So if one of the girls need assistance, or one of the guys, on patrol need assistance, we show up as a team and we'll go out there. So we have an on-call schedule, but it's, subject to everyone has to show up if something happens.
Yeah.
For example, like the tragedy that happened in Charleston with the Emmanuel Church, there, all advocates were, all hands were on deck.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the one who was on call.
Right.
There were multiple families who needed assistance that night and continuous assistance thereafter. It didn't just end that night, it was continuous after, through court proceedings and everything. So we're just a big helping hand, and we're a big support for the patrolmen that are out there, putting their lives on the line as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Do you get back to Puerto Rico often or at all?
Having the 3 kids, it was something that was always very expensive, and it was not something that we did all of the time. And so I've been back probably 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
Yeah, and as a kid, I've been back with my parents when they flew. They would take, we would take turns with mom and dad. Who, if dad goes this time, then, I get to go, or if mom goes, then she'll take one of the boys. And so it wasn't something that everybody can get on a plane and go, because it is quite costly.
Mm.
But we were able to take all 3 of our children and, show them,
Nice.
where I was born, where your daddy was born, and expose them to what Puerto Rico really is.
Yeah.
And not just the touristic side. I love to take them where the real life is, so that they can see the struggle,
Nice. Yeah. What is the struggle? Well, can you say a little more about
Sure.
that? Yeah.
So, for instance, with Hurricane Maria, a lot of my family members were affected. They were still going through a lot of issues with the power on the island. Just this past week, the power went out throughout the whole island. If you don't have a generator, it's kind of like, you're stuck like Chuck kind of thing. We had the earthquakes that were happening there. A lot of families were displaced after Maria with the earthquakes. People were sleeping outside in the baseball fields, because baseball is a very big sport in Puerto Rico. So they would just pitch tents out there, and community really pulled together. The crime in Puerto Rico is very high as well, because there is poverty in areas. It's not all cruise lines and palm trees like you see on TV. Everybody has a struggle, and we have ours there. So that was important for me to show my children, what's real out there. It's not all pretty and what you see on YouTube and Instagram and, what the world tries to make look beautiful. Yes, there is a struggle out there.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. The other side of things.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
The reality of things.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're keeping, importing some of that, keeping that culture alive and sharing it with all around Georgetown County as well through this through the bodega that I think we're all going to go visit now.
Yes, and visit us at Georgetown Tornado Center as well. We were actually an essential business, and we were able to stay open and provide service for the community, for vehicles to get serviced and tires changed and oils changed and all of that. And we were able to also allow our employees to continue working to make money to put food on their tables for their families. So that was very important for us as well. So that we were able to be deemed as an essential business was a blessing as well.
Yeah, and it's amazing the sort of the integration of all these different. They seem very diverse businesses or endeavors, but they are kind of connected.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so that. What is your favorite dish to cook?
My favorite?
Yeah, Puerto Rican.
I love, in Spanish, arroz guisado con arroz blanco y habichuela guisada.
That even sounded delicious.
Yeah, amarillo frito, that's good. And we saw all of that at La Bodega, 17. No, I'm just kidding. It is chicken stew. It is chicken stew, and it's white rice and fresh beans and plantains, yellow plantains.
Yeah.
That's my favorite dish.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're bringing all of that into here, you know, we're bringing in the yellow plantains and the green plantains, and we have frozen things and fresh produce, and so it's just a diverse, so you can try all of that stuff.
Yeah, oh, that sounds.
Thank you so much for helping me plug in my businesses.
Yes,
You are so cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's a sidelight. No, but that it's, you know, foodways that's a big part of culture, and you know that's a very interesting aspect of what you're doing here. So it is part of the culture and diversity of Georgetown County, which we wouldn't have if y'all weren't here and doing this.
Well, one culture here that really shocked me, and I've never even heard of Geechee. I didn't know what Geechee was.
Yeah.
So that was interesting to me. I love it. And the gullah.
Geechee
Oh my gosh, yes, the
amazing.
Colors and the dress. I love it. Yeah. Because that's it's all because Geechee is
The Gullah
African
Geechee,
American?
African American, but has roots in West Africa, and
see?
usually it's Gullah in this area, and then Geechee is
More Charleston?
more,
area?
I guess Georgia, off the coast of Georgia.
Our foods are
Sea
similar.
Islands, but there's integration, you know, there are
Oh,
kind
yeah,
of connections
absolutely.
with the food. So.
Our music has the same rhythm, and our instruments are similar. We may call them different things, but if I just love the relation, and I didn't know what Geechee was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And I was glad because a lot of people here didn't know what a Puerto Rican was. So I was like, yes.
I mean, lots of sharing, and
Yes, I love
mean,
it.
that's
I
great.
love to learn new things and new cultures, and I believe that when you learn one thing a day, you get a wrinkle in the brain. Yes.
Yeah, a good wrinkle.
A
yeah,
good
like
wrinkle.
black
Yes, no
wrinkle.
wrinkles out here.
Yeah.
We try not. No
Black
wrinkle in the
wrinkle.
brain. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
very good. Yeah, no, learning one thing a day is
Oh yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
that's a good goal. I think probably when I was in preschool, I would probably learn one thing a day,
One
and then
thing
I think I'm dropping off. That's a good goal to reset.
Yeah, well, even listening
Yeah.
to my coworker, she was born and raised in here over the river. That's a new place. I never even knew where over the river was. And over the river's in Bloomingvale, yes.
Okay.
So, and so she says a lot of terms and a lot of sayings, a lot of slang, and I'll question her, and she just thinks it's the funniest thing, and I'm like, "Are you making fun of me?" And she's like, "No, she's very sweet. She's taught me a lot, so I try and be cool, and I try and throw one of those lines in there."
Yeah.
Yeah. Bet you didn't know that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm teaching her Spanish, so she's doing very well.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's good. Yeah. So, well, that's your job. You spreading some Spanish, and and the culture here. That's you're getting that a little slowly changing the outlook of Georgetown County, and vice versa. It's a
Yes.
sharing both ways, and so it's good to have you around.
Well, thank you.
And thanks so much for
Good to
being
be
here.
around.
And you're doing lots of good work on lots of levels. So it was great to hear about the other things you're doing too.
Yes, thank you.
And so do we have some questions out here? We'll open it up for some Q&A.
Not hard ones, because I want to pass.
Yeah.
Make them easy questions.
Yeah.
The one thing when you was talking about Portuguese and
Spanish.
right, when you got the Spanish and they get together, so what you were saying about the lady, the dialect or the slang.
Mm-hmm.
So a slang that you would have as a Puerto Rican is different from the slang that someone would be a Mexican person.
Correct. For example, do you want an example?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna keep it
Alright.
clean, okay? Because I have to wear a robe,
Yes.
being in the ministry.
Yeah, that's right.
So, for example, because I work in law enforcement, you get exposed to a lot of words that you have to translate. So, for us, a mosquito is is one word, and then the male part, the male private part, means the same thing as in, it's, the same thing means two different things. Am I explaining myself correctly? Okay, so let me say like, okay, so like a word that they use, they being my Mexican friends, right? They use for mosquito, for me is not a mosquito. It is a male part.
Okay.
In a very vulgar manner.
Wow.
Yes. So,
You wouldn't want to say that in court.
yes, and I, correct. Because it's not a mosquito.
Yeah.
It's not a mosquito.
So
And
someone wouldn't, that would be nice to say that to you.
it would not be nice. It would be very offensive.
Wow.
Yes. So, that's why when I translate, sometimes I'm like, okay, what, I can't use that word. That's not gonna go very well. I might get held contempt of court.
Yeah.
So I have to really choose my words wisely and make sure that it's a word that could be interchangeable in conversation.
Yeah.
So if you're with somebody and get,
Let's
the
keep it
person-
clean,
the
let's keep it
person-
clean.
and the person get bit by a mosquito, and you go, well, what happened?
Uh,
So they can't tell you they got bit by a mosquito.
No, listen, I have a story for that.
We can always edit it out.
Okay. When we first came, my in-laws, remember I told you that they were pastors of the church? So my husband and I, we were going to the church, and the church members, you promise you can edit this out? I'll keep it clean, I'll keep it
Truman's
clean.
giving me the
Okay.
thumbs up, yeah.
When they would come out of the church, they would say, it was a lot of no-see-ums
Yeah,
here.
right,
Good Lord,
yes.
those no-see-ums are no
Yeah.
joke.
They're,
Yes.
Those things will eat you up.
I
they're
know.
one of the bad
Yeah.
things, yeah.
So, they were complaining and saying the word, okay, and the word is bicho, okay? So then they would start slapping, they was like, oh, so many bichos, right? So then I said, my kids were like, what is that? And I was like, we don't say that word. They're like, well, what does it mean? And I was like, nope, they're saying mosquitoes, they're saying mosquitoes, but for us, that word is the vulgar way of saying the other one. Sorry, I could have chosen so many other stories, but that one was impacting because my kids were young and they're just as confused as I am with the Spanish sometimes. They're like, they don't even know what to say anymore. So we just kind of say it and say, we apologize, like,
Yeah.
it's open game.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Like, language
Did I
is tricky.
answer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you for allowing me to share that story.
It's memorable.
I'm enlightened.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Being that me looking at you, I wouldn't be able to tell if you're Mexican or Puerto Rican. What would be a great way to come up to you and ask that question without offending you?
Nice. That's a really good question.
Yeah.
You could just ask me where am I from?
Where you from?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay,
Just don't assume.
exactly.
And it's very easy to do. I'm not very familiar with the Asian culture. For me, everybody's Chinese, right?
Right, right.
But because my brother ended up marrying a Filipino girl, I started learning the differences of their foods and of their language and of their facial features. I was in Walmart when I first moved here, and I felt somebody touching my hair in the back of the line, and I was like, and I asked, is something wrong? And they're like, I just wanted to touch your hair. I just wanted to see if it was crunchy. I go, okay. But they found it, I guess, curious because not a lot of Mexican friends of mine have have curly hair. They tend to have the coarser, thicker, black, straight hair. So they would just touch my hair from the back. So now I don't get offended. I'm like, it's not crunchy. So it's just it's not what you say. I always tell my kids, it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Right.
So you could just ask, where are you from?
Well, that was, she took my question.
Oh,
But that, I knew
well,
how
he
to
brought
do that.
slides. I didn't
No.
bring slides, so.
I lived in New York for 45 years, and the bodega part I get.
Yes,
Oh,
good,
yeah.
I have
yes.
a bodega over there and a bodega over there, and we have I had
Yes.
my choice of going to the bodega.
Yeah.
And I also worked with the Bronx District Attorney's Office,
Oh,
and my job was to take phone calls.
okay.
And I have, would receive calls from people that, how do you deal with those that call? They say they don't speak English, but if you coax them enough, they do speak English,
Okay,
but they just don't want to speak English to
that's a
you.
good question. I like these questions.
Yeah.
Can I do this like every week?
Very good crowd.
It's a
How
good
do you
question.
handle a person like that?
Okay.
You know?
So I will tell you this, a lot of Hispanics that work here, they are used to receiving orders. Do this, do this, do this, do that. Especially like in landscaping, for example, or construction. It's not a field where you have a lot of conversation in. You kind of just give an instruction and you do it. And after doing it for so long, you understand what your task is, and when you're told to do something, okay, well, he's telling me to go do, I don't know, go nail the nail into the board. And then people are like, well, I know that you understand and I know that you speak it. Just because I understand it doesn't mean that I can speak it. How many people have not taken Spanish in high school and probably passed because they can read it, but they just can't speak it? They can understand it because the teacher would always speak to them and quiz them in Spanish, but they can't verbalize it. Because that's like Spanish 3 or Spanish 4. And to graduate, you only need like Spanish 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So you don't really have to have that conversational. So a lot of people that it seems like they can speak the language, they can probably fully understand it, yeah. And it's instruction, but don't speak too fast because then you're gonna lose them, But I bet you if you take them to a hospital and you ask them to hand you a certain instrument, they're not gonna know because that's not their field. So I always tell people, if you want to learn Spanish, learn the Spanish that caters to your field, what you are doing. That's where you're gonna learn it the most. And the quickest, because it's relative.
It's important.
Yes, it's very important.
Yeah.
And that's an issue that we've had for many, many years, even before my time, with the language barrier. They would flash handcuffs, and they would, and that is not appeasing to me, because that's more of an intimidation. And a lot of people say, well, we're trying to get their attention and we can't communicate it with them, so we show them the handcuffs.
Yeah.
Well, there's, just call me or call someone that can speak the language, because they're probably so distraught they don't even know. They just see this and they're thinking that you're going to take them to jail,
Right.
They're like, well, we are if they don't answer our questions. Well, they can't answer your question because they can't speak English,
Yeah.
So it's been a learning curve for everyone,
Yeah.
So yeah, when we're on call and it's 24/7, they call us at 3 o'clock in the morning, we have to get up out of bed and go run and go and help. And sometimes it's over the phone, but sometimes we have to go to the hospital. Sometimes we have to go on a scene. So,
Yeah.
but I enjoy that drive. Not the actual drive, the adrenaline rush. I enjoy the on-call.
Yeah.
I can't always control my own chaos, but I like to help others control theirs. It's different.
That's encouraging. Because I've got plenty of chaos and confusion.
Yes,
in
that's
life, but it's
right.
good that someone can.
I have time to work on mine.
Yes,
They need
it's
immediate
out there.
help, yeah.
Someone's out there to help.
That's right.
So that's good. Yeah, you can manage. You're good at managing other people's chaos.
Yes.
And that's great. Yeah, people
So
need that.
one more.
Yeah,
One more.
absolutely.
Like you're talking about, your pastors, you and your husband.
Yes.
And your congregation, what kind of congregation is it? Diverse or, and how hard is it, while you're preaching the word of God, and some people might understand, some might not. How do you go about working with that?
Okay, so our church, which has been a big challenge, because again, we're Puerto Rican and our cultures are different, our language is different, our customs are different, and we have a lot of Mexican and Central American members, from El Salvador and from we have Mexico, El Salvador, we have Guatemala, we have all of those different. We all eat differently, and temperaments are different. Some are more docile than others. Others have more heated. Some of us talk more with our hands, others less. Our services are all in Spanish. Our music and our praise and worship is in Spanish. The children's services, when they go forward, everything is in Spanish. If we have someone who comes into the church and speaks only English, we ask them. We don't assume that they want translation.
Yeah.
We ask them. A lot of people just like to come in and sit and be exposed to the language and hear it. So we ask, would you like us to translate the service for you, or would you like to just sit and listen? They'll say, no, I want to sit and listen. But if they ask for us to translate, then my husband will preach and I will translate, or if I preach, my husband will translate. Yes. So we try and accommodate, because we
Yeah.
enjoy people coming in and visiting and just sitting in. We have,
Yeah.
we open our doors to that.
Wow.
That's what it's all about. Learn about one another.
That's
Very good.
Yes, yes.
wonderful, wonderful. How about one more question?
Oh, I didn't,
It's about the
Maryville,
mosquitoes.
where's
No mosquito questions. No, I'm just kidding.
When I first, I was in a class with a lady that she had a business class that she gave us for like a week. And a young lady was in our class, and she wanted her business, she was African American, she wanted her business to be, to go to the hospitals and translate for the pregnant
Oh,
Spanish
yes.
moms. And she started that business, I think it was like in the early 2000s. And she started that business. And my question is, do you have an advocate still here for that service?
Right here.
Okay, because she started it a
Yeah.
long time ago. I can't remember her name.
Yeah, because we go into the emergency room a lot of the nurses feel comfortable with us. Well, myself and Jasmine, because we're the two bilingual there. They do have more and more bilingual people working at the hospital that can provide translation. But yes, I take sometimes our own victims that speak only Spanish and they're housed at the safe house or something. I do take them. Or from church, people need help with translation. I will take them to the hospital and I will translate. I'm in close contact with Winoka Coakley. She works for the Tidelands hospitals, both Waccamaw and Georgetown, with birth certificates. And sometimes she has difficulty communicating with the families. So she calls me, like we have each other on, we don't have speed dial anymore on our phones, but you know, we are available to each other very quickly to help each other with situations like that. And yeah.
Your church is the first one on the left coming into Maryville?
Our church is actually 48 Garden Avenue, right past Walmart. Garden Avenue, back where Parsons Garden is.
Right.
Yes, it's a building. There used to be some kind of door factory or something, or window company was there. And the Lord bless us with that building this year, so. Yes. Yes, so we finally own our own business, our own building for the church, so that's our next project. Yes.
Okay. So the church is in Kensington?
Yes, correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
So,
in Kensington.
in Kensington, all right, well,
Yes.
so we can visit there as well and sit in and, you know, have a
Yeah, I'm like
have
that.
an experience.
You guys know those movies where, like, you go to the corner store and you see the guy and like, hi, welcome to La Bodega. Hi, do you know where there's a local church? Yes, the pastor's right over there. And then you go over to the church and it's like the same guy that was at La Bodega. And, oh, hi, I'm the minister. It's like, weren't you just, nope, that's not me. And then we're in the same place everywhere. Yeah, we're all over Georgetown County.
So
But I love Georgetown County.
well, it sounds like the feeling is mutual.
Yes,
So
oh, thank you.
and we thank you so much. We loved having you here.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you so much. Let's give a big round of applause.